Hi, good morning, mathematicians. This is Mrs. Capizzi, and welcome to my virtual classroom. Today is Monday, May 11th, 2020. And today we will be working on we're going to continue with 12-4, adding fractions with denominators of 10 and 20. And today your task is to complete problems 9 through 23 on page 647. So I do want to show you the another look video from the book because I think it's helpful to refresh on how to change denominators to make them to go from a denominator of 10 to a denominator of 100. So pay attention to the video and then we'll go over the problems that you have to do for today.
Adding fractions is simple when you find common denominators. Let's use a word problem to demonstrate. In the morning, Steve sold 38 hundredths of the items in his yard sale. In the afternoon, he sold another 2/10 of the items. What fraction of the items did Steve sell? To find the total amount Steve sold, we need to add 38 hundredths and 2/10. When we add fractions, we have to use like denominators. In this problem, we have 100 and 10 as our denominators. We need to use equivalent fractions to find out how many of the items Steve sold. We can rename 2/10 as an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. We do this by multiplying the numerator and the denominator by 10. 20 hundredths is equivalent to 2/10. We rewrite the problem. 38 hundredths plus 20 hundredths. Now we can add, since both fractions have common denominators. First, we add the numerators. 38 plus 20 equals 58. And we write the sum over the like denominator, 100. 38 hundredths plus 20 hundredths equals 58 hundredths. Steve sold 58 hundredths of his items. Way to go, Steve!
Okay, so hopefully that was a good review. And I did want to take a peek at, I just did a screenshot from the video. So if you'll notice, to change tenths into hundredths, you multiply, they multiplied here by 10 over 10. And remember, 10 over 10 is equivalent to 1 whole. So when you're finding an equivalent fraction, you need to multiply by a number that is equivalent to 1 whole. So here, 10 times 10 is 100, and 2 times 10 is 20. So what you'll notice here is that once you get good at this, you'll start realizing that when you're going from a denominator of 10 to a denominator of 100, you can multiply by 10 over 10, or you'll start realizing that if you add a 0 to the numerator and a 0 to the denominator, you'll also get the equivalent fraction. So we are going to practice with both ways today. And let me go ahead and delete that. And I want you to open up your packets and let's take a look at numbers 9, 10, and 11. I'm going to model number 9 for you, and then I want you to pause the video and try numbers 10 and 11, and then we will go over them. So here for number 9, they've got 20 100ths plus 2 tenths. And here we're going to need to change tenths to hundredths. So we know if we take 2 tenths and we can multiply by 10 over 10. And then we'll multiply the numerators. So this equals, so 2 times 10 is 20. And 10 times 10 is 100. Okay, so 2 tenths can be rewritten as 20 hundredths. So here, instead of 2 tenths, up here, I'm going to write that as 20 hundredths. And then to add them both together, I would add the numerators. 21 plus 20 gives me 41 over 100. So the answer to number 9 is 41 hundredths. So now please pause the video and try numbers 10 and 11. And when you are done that, I want you to press play and we'll go over the answers. Now, remember here, this one, they're actually asking you what 30 hundredths was before they changed it to hundredths. And here, you also need to change 60 hundredths back into tenths. So go ahead and pause the video and give that your best try, and then we'll go over it. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So here we've talked about with 30 hundredths, what was that when it was tenths? Well, to make it hundredths, they added the 0 to the numerator and a 0 to the denominator. So originally, this problem was 3 tenths plus 68 hundredths, but they did the conversion for you. So now let's add these two together. So 30 hundredths plus 68 hundredths. So 30 plus 68 is 98. So the answer here is 98 hundredths. And I apologize, it's not always easy to write with this pen here, but this is, let me make this 8 a little bit better here. So this was 98 hundredths. Okay, so for number 11, 4 tenths, I wouldn't have to change anything because that's already in tenths. So 4 tenths. And then here, I know that 60 hundredths, if I took away the top 0 and a 0 on the bottom, I would be left with 6 tenths. And then I can just add these two together. So 4 tenths plus 6 tenths is 10 tenths. And 10 tenths, everyone, when the numerator is the same as the denominator, what can we rewrite that as or rename that as? You got it. We can rename that as 1 whole. Okay, so the answer to number 11 was 1 whole. Okay, so now let me go to the next page here and erase this. All right, guys, now I want you to pause. Hi, everyone, it's Mrs. Capizzi, and I'm here with the second part of the 12-4 Day 2 video. My Screencastify, for some reason, got cut off after I went over number 11. So in this video, I'm going to be going over number 12 through 23. So let's go ahead and get started. For number 12, the problem says 32 hundredths plus 28 hundredths plus 6 tenths. So here we need to change 6 tenths into hundredths, so I'm going to add a 0 to the numerator and a 0 to the denominator. So now I've got 60 hundredths, so I need to add up my numerators. So I've got 32 plus 28 plus 60. 8 plus 2 is 10, so I drop my 0 and regroup my 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6, and 6 plus 6 is 12. So over here I've got 120 100ths. So you're saying to yourself, what do I need to do? I need to rename this because 120, the numerator, is more than the denominator. So I'm going to rewrite this as 100 hundredths plus 120 minus 100 would be 20 hundredths. So I'm going to circle this one because that makes one whole. So I'm going to rewrite that as one whole, and then I'm just going to put the fraction part right next to it. So the answer for number 12 would be 1 and 20 hundredths. Okay, so let me go ahead and erase this, and we'll start with number 13. Now remember, I expect you to be pausing the video before I go over the problems because I want you to try them on your own first. Okay, so number 13, we've got 11 tenths plus 41 hundredths. So pause the video, try that on your own, and then press play when you're ready. Alright, so hopefully you've tried that on your own. So for 11 tenths, I'm going to add a 0 to the numerator and a 0 to the denominator so that I have 100 as my denominator in both. So I'm going to add these two together, so I've got 110 plus 41. 0 plus 1 is 1, and 1 plus 4 is 5. So now I've got 151 hundredths. So again, the numerator is more than the denominator, so you need to rename it. Okay, so I'm going to break this apart. I've got 100 hundredths to make one whole, and 151 minus 100 would be 51 hundredths left over. So I'm going to circle this because that makes one whole. So this would be one whole, and I just write the fraction part right next to it. So number 13 would be 1 and 51 hundredths. All right, let's take a look at number 14. I have 72 hundredths plus 6 tenths. So again, I need to change 6 tenths into hundredths. So I'll add a 0 to the numerator and a 0 to the denominator, and I'll add these up off to the side. I've got 72 plus 60. 2 plus 0 is 2, and 7 plus 6 is 13. So this equals 132 hundredths. So again, I need to rename because my numerator is more than my denominator. So I'll break that apart into 100 hundredths plus 32 hundredths, and I'll circle that because that equals one whole, and then I'll just put the fraction part right next to it. So number 14 is 1 and 32 hundredths. All right, so let's go over the next three. So I want you to pause the video and try numbers 15, 16, and 17, and then we'll go over all three. Did you pause the video? I'm trusting you that you paused the video. So let's go ahead and go over number 15. We've got 5/10 plus 3/10 plus 18/100. Okay, so I need to change these first two fractions to have a denominator of 100. So I'll add a 0 to the numerator, 0 to the denominator, 0 to the numerator, 0 to the denominator. So now I have 50 plus 30 plus 18. 0 plus 0 plus 8 is 8. 5 plus 3 is 8, and one more is 9. So when I add these together, I get 98/100ths, and I do not need to rename this, woohoo, because 98 is less than 100. Okay, let's go over number 16. Number 16, I have 7/100ths plus 6/10. So again, I need to change this second fraction to have a denominator of 100, so I can add a 0 down there, but then I need to add a 0 in my numerator as well. And for this one, I can do mental math. So 7 plus 60 is 67, and my denominator stays 100. So that one was easy peasy. So number 16 is 67/100ths. Let's do number 17. Okay, here we go. I've got 9/10 plus 4/100ths, and I can hear you telling me, Mrs. Capizzi, I need to add a 0 to the 9 and a 0 to the 10 in the denominator so that I have denominators of 100, and then I'm going to use my mental math. 90 plus 4 is 94. 94/100ths. So number 17 is 94/100ths. All right, let's go over. So what I want you to do, pause the video and try numbers 18, 19, and 20, and then we will go over them. I know you paused the video, so you're just going to be checking your answers because I trust you guys. So number 18 is 30/100ths plus 5/10. So what do I need to do? I need to change the second fraction, so I'm going to add a 0 to the numerator and a 0 to the denominator. So now both my denominators match. And again, this is easy mental math. 30 plus 50 is 80. So number 18 is 80/100ths. And I'll just do number 19 down here since I have room. Number 19, 39/100ths plus 2/10. And yes, I know I can't add them together because the denominators don't match. So I'll add a 0 to the numerator, a 0 to the denominator, and now I've got an easy peasy problem. 39 plus 20 is 59, so that is 59/100ths for number 19. And number 20, I've got 8/10 plus 9/100ths. So I need to change the 8/10, so I add a 0 to the numerator, a 0 to the denominator, and now I've got 80 plus 9, which is 89, 89/100ths. So that was nice. I didn't have to rename 18, 19, or 20. So hopefully you guys did really well with those. And let's go ahead and finish up with the last three problems. So we've got 21, 22, and 23. Okay, so here's 21. Number 21 has three fractions, so we've got 44/100ths plus 34/100ths plus 9/10. So I need to change the 9/10 into hundredths, so that becomes 90 hundredths, and then I'll add these three numerators off to the side. 44 plus 34 plus 90. 4 plus 4 is 8. 4 plus 3 is 7, and 7 plus 9 is 16. So my new numerator is 168 and my denominator is 100. And then I need to rename because my numerator is more than my denominator. So I'm going to write that as 100 100ths because that makes one whole, plus 168 minus 100 leaves me with 68 hundredths. So then I'm going to circle because that makes one whole. So my answer, which I'll write down here, is 1 whole and 68 hundredths. Okay, so number 21 is 1 and 68 hundredths. And let's go over number 22. Now number 22, I'm going to go over a little bit differently, because I wonder if any of you noticed something. So 70 tenths plus 33 hundredths. So there's two things here. You'll notice in 70 tenths there's a 0 in the numerator and a 0 in the denominator. So if I got rid of those, I'd be left with 7 over 1. And we know when the denominator is 1, the answer is just the numerator. So you can also read this as 7 divided by 1, which is also 7. Or you could have done this, 70 divided by 10. So 70 divided by 10 is also 7, because if I do 10 times 7, I get 70. So what I'm going to do is, instead of renaming this to have a denominator of 100, I already know that 70 tenths is equivalent to 7, because 70 divided by 10 is 7. So all I have to do is write the little fraction part right next to it. So for number 22, the answer is 7 and 33 hundredths. Okay, so let's go over the last one. The last one is number 23. So I have 28 tenths plus 72 tenths plus 84 hundredths. Now, some of you may have added the zeros to the first two fractions, but I'm actually going to use my associative property, and I'm going to add these two together first. And remember, the associative property is just when you can, with addition, you can just regroup the addends or the numbers you're adding together any way that you want, because these both have a denominator of 10. So I'm going to add together 28 plus 72. 8 plus 2 is 10. So I drop the 0, regroup the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 plus 7 is 10. So I'm rewriting this as 100 tenths plus 84 tenths. So like we went over in the problem before, number 22, I can rewrite this. So this fraction bar also means to divide. So I know that 100 divided by 10 equals 10, because if I'm doing my fact family, 10 times 10 is 100. And remember, it's slide, and divide. So 100 divided by 10 is 10, or 10 times 10 is 100, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. So in this fact family, I know that